Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty, a Haggerty10 Twitter handle, as you can see. It's good to be back. And I'm joined today by Herald sports writer Graeme McGarry. How are you, Graeme?
I'm not bad, mate. More to the point, how are you?
I'm all right. Yes, good to be back, as they say.
That's some hangover for Sunday you must have had there, mate.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Oh, that phoning in after a Celtic Rangers game, Rangers Celtic game, call it like, yeah. I'm no well, honest gov, honest boss, yeah, one of them. Yes. On that note, Graeme, obviously a great result for Celtic. Puts them firmly in the driving seat in pole position to win the title. 6 ahead with 6 to go. It's a great position for them to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, and probably an unthinkable position at the start of the season. You've got to take your hat off to Ange and what he's achieved, and obviously the players as well. I think Callum McGregor's obviously played a massive role in that and helped all the new boys settle in. And it's just a fantastic turnaround and a fantastic story as well. And 6 games out, it would take a massive collapse of epic proportions for them to kind of blow it from here, but I'm sure there'll be none of the Celtic fans will be kind of resting on their laurels just yet because there is no anything can happen,
Of course, for those of us sent a certain vintage, they'll recognise when I say the words Devon Lock collapse.
Yes.
You'll have seen the footage. Most people will have. Some won't have. If you key in Devon Lock, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, a monumental collapse from Celtic for them not to win the title. But stranger things have happened, Graeme. Now, I wrote a column the other day, and you've written a column today talking about two specific individuals. Each of us, I said Ange Postecoglou. Celtic would be wise to maybe tie him down on a longer term deal. And I know people were pointing out to me that's not the way he works. He likes the 1 year rolling contract. But my thought was just to make him an offer he can't refuse, basically, I said. And obviously to safeguard Celtic and themselves, because ever since Sunday, we've heard Man City want him, Man United want him, everybody wants him, everybody wants a piece of Ange. But I think he's perfectly happy at Celtic, Graeme, and I don't envisage him walking out in Celtic just now. And if you're prudent on the Celtic board, you would maybe think about having a wee chat with him and see his thoughts on extending his deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe something worth exploring. I do, Celtic, as we all know, for years now have operated on this sort of rolling contract basis. And I think Ange is quite comfortable with it as well. I've not had the sense at any point this season that, Ange is here to use Celtic as a stepping stone or anything like that. The way the world obviously is that if he does do well, and he has done phenomenally well so far, he's going to attract interest at some stage. But I think it would have to be one of these sort of top elite level, top 5 maybe clubs in England to attract him away from Celtic, because he's got everything that he ever wanted. He came over to Europe. He's at a massive club, a massive fan base who absolutely adore him. He's getting success. He's playing good football. He's shown that they've got spirit as well. They don't just play. It's not just about pretty football. And I think it's everything he's ever dreamed of, really. And he said that a few times himself. He can't quite believe he's in this position. So, I don't. Sometimes you get managers and you think, we'll be lucky to have him for a couple of years. Maybe Brendan Rodgers, you were thinking that, despite what he was publicly saying. There was always that wee nagging feeling that if something came up in England, he would be off, and so it proved. But with Ange, you don't really get that. I think he's very content where he is. And I think this is more an end point for Ange rather than a stepping stone, I've got to say.
My feeling as well, Graeme, is that the way he's talking, he wants to satisfy his ambitions both domestically and in Europe, and he feels that he can do that with Celtic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there was so much turmoil last summer when he came in, and, the squad was, in a very kind of sorry state. A lot of players who he knew were leaving, and he had to trust them in these games against Midtjylland and probably right up to the Rangers game, actually, the 1-0 at Ibrox. So he's in a much stronger position this time around. As we've seen in January, when he's got that position of strength, he likes to do his business early. And he got it done on the very first day of the window in January. And I think it'll be more of the same in the summer. I don't think he'll be hanging around to strengthen the team. I think there'll be a kind of glut of signings early on, not maybe to the same extent as what it was in January, and certainly not last summer. But there'll be, I think, maybe 3 or 4 signings early on in the window, and I think that'll be it. And he'll be quite settled, and he'll want to attack these qualifiers. If it's qualifiers, that's right. But straight into the groups as well, obviously. Hopefully.
There's been few managers in Celtic's history, Graeme, that have been afforded kind of, as Jock Stein once said, total control in the football affairs. Jock Stein had it, O'Neill had it, Brendan Rodgers had it for a while. But it seems to me that Ange is having his say, because the players have brought in are definitely all his. And if you leave the manager to concentrate on football matters, which he's clearly asked, and the powers that be concentrate on what they're good at, then it can be quite harmonious. And as you alluded to there seems to be a harmony there, a respect for each other's job, and a happiness there.
Yeah, I think Ange is he is the outright leader of the club, but he's not somebody who is too wrapped up in his own opinion that he doesn't listen to others either. I think in the summer window was a combination of a few gems that Ange had in his own head, and some of the work that the recruitment guys had done behind the scenes. The likes of your Starfelts and guys like that, I think, were probably recommended to Ange, and then he's went with it. And then but Ange obviously now has a very kind of strong hand, because every one of the signings that he's brought in himself, you've got to say they've all contributed either spectacularly well or very well in the team. They've all settled in. They've all had a role to play. There's no real. The only signing really that's come in and maybe struggled to make any sort of impact is James McCarthy, who obviously struggles with fitness. But I'm not sure how much Ange had to do with that one. So I think behind the scenes they trust him. They trust his judgment on players, and I think he'll have the kind of. Obviously, he'll have the final say, but I think he'll be the man who's kind of driving the signings this summer.
That's the supporters' motto, Graeme, is it not? And Ange, we trust and all that. I think that extends to the board and the players and everybody connected with the club, I would conjecture. But yeah, there's a strong hand on the tiller there, isn't there? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's in a position of strength. They're obviously going to trust him because everything he's done so far is paid off really well. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's in a position there as a manager that you love to be in. You're in total control. You've got the trust of the board, and more importantly, you've got the trust of the fans.
No pressure on Ange, but Simon Thomas comes in here, Graeme, and says Ange will want to win the Champions League with Celtic. That's aiming high, if ever I heard it. Now, as you can see along the bottom, if you subscribe to the Celtic Way, it's only £1 for 2 months. You'll get some top quality content, some top quality broadcasts featuring myself, Graeme, and A and others. If you just hit the www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, you'll get all that, and it's worth the money, isn't it, Graeme?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You get all my ramblings on there, all your ramblings as well. So who wouldn't want to hear that?
And ramblings by screen, yes, exactly. Who wouldn't want to view that and read that? Indeed. Now, Graeme, you've written a column today about a man who was imperious on Sunday, and he just keeps turning up with these performances. It's Tom Rogic. Now, he's a year left in his deal, but you said that's something that should be shoved to the front of Celtic's agenda and getting him tied up, because he's just proved now that he's a man for the big occasion, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. We asked Ange about this at the start of February, and at the time, he said it was the last thing on his mind. I don't think he meant that specifically to Tom Rogic. I think just contracts in general at that stage. But we are getting closer to the summer now, and he's coming into the final year of his deal. It's incredible to think that just over a year ago he was almost put out to pasture. He was sent to Qatar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He'd 1 foot on the plane. It didn't work out in the end, and I think the Celtic fans will be certainly grateful for that. I know Ange Postecoglou is certainly grateful. I just think his performance at Ibrox, you might, as I said in the column, you might only get an hour out of him now and again, but when it's an hour like that, who's complaining? I thought it was
a quality hour, wasn't it?
Yeah, between him and Callum McGregor, I think they were the two sort of driving forces that got Celtic back into the game after that kind of early wobble. Because Rangers had come out the traps really well, credit to them. The fans were baying for blood, and he was just the guy who had a wee bit of calm on the ball. There was kind of all sorts going on about him, but every time he got it, he was in 5 yards of space. He's turning away from men. He just receives the ball so well. And I think he's a key player for Celtic. Absolutely. Now it's incredible to think where he came from. It's incredible to think the impact that he's having. We've always known he's a talented player. He always gets called an enigma, and that's not always a compliment when players get called that. But I think now he's sort of allied that with a willingness to work and even defend for the front. I think that's a prerequisite to playing in an Ange Postecoglou team. You've got to do that. Doesn't matter how good you are. And I think that he's reaping the rewards of the kind of hard work he's doing behind the scenes and on the pitch.
I also have to mention his finish on Sunday, Graeme. He made it look so simple. There's a temptation to blast that and do it, but my goodness, he just made sure that he put it in the net, and he did it with such aplomb and such style. It was, I watched it again 3 or 4 times, and I thought he's made that look ridiculously easy, and it was such a hard chance.
It wasn't easy, when you look at it on the telly, you might think, "Oh, it's a tap in." Keeper spilled it, but it's the ball's bouncing. It's early on in the game. But if you do watch it closely, I think he just waits a wee fraction of a second for Alan McGregor to commit himself. He waits until the dive's actually past him, and then he just flicks it into the net, just nonchalant. So he's got that composure in his locker. And I think, I might be right in saying, I read Sean's piece the other day. I think he's got 6 goals against Rangers now, 3 of them at Ibrox, 2 at Hampden, and only 1 at Celtic Park. So, he turns up in these big occasions. He's got a great mentality. And I think I wouldn't maybe say indispensable at Celtic, but he's getting close to that because he's a man for these big occasions.
I have to question his commitment to Celtic Park then, Graeme. You know what I mean? What's going on there? His goal-scoring prowess at Celtic Park's terrible, but David Bradley says, beautiful finish. And I'll go back to Gone Yourself has a pop at me here and he said, what is aiming high when I said about Ange? I know Ange is looking to win the European Cup with Celtic. That's the highest possible aim that you can have. Gone Yourself. Is it realistic? And is it possible? Who knows? But Ange will certainly have a crack at it, and if Celtic are in the Champions League qualifiers, he will want, as Graeme said earlier, to be tooled up for that and have a crack. Of course he's going to have a crack. But you look at clubs and you think it's slanted against teams like Celtic for winning it, Graeme, isn't it? That's all I was talking about you. Of course, everybody's aiming high. That's the aim of every Celtic manager, to replicate the 1967 team.
I mean, I understand what he's saying there, but and Ange very much is a guy who, he said it a few times, that old reach for the moon, you might reach the stars kind of thing, but the inequity in the game is such in European football at the moment. I think it's a massive ask to say that any team at Celtic's financial level will be able to compete in the Champions League, as depressing as that may be. But I think what to do, Ange will be going into the group, looking to do his best and trying to get out of the group. There's no doubt about that. It doesn't matter. He won't be looking at balance sheets, and he'll be trying to compete on the park. And he'll probably believe that they can do something. But to go all the way and win it, I think is, even for Ange, that's going to be a stretch in my book.
Andrew Gillis says there is no seal with Ange. I get all that. And Gone Yourself, so I don't think Ange will say he's aiming high. No, he doesn't, because you see, he went to the World Cup with Australia and he wanted to win it. Yeah, I'm saying that's aiming high, and that's the highest you can aim. Ange will want you. Of course, he wants to win every competition. I totally get that. I'm just asking if it's realistic and it's possible. But while Celtic are on this magic carpet ride, the fans will feel that anything's possible, and they have this manager at the helm. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not saying they can't do it, but I'm saying I'm offering a healthy dose of realism, as you say there, Graeme, as well, about the inequity in the game. But this time next year, if Celtic are in the knockout stage of the Champions League, I'll come back to this broadcast.
I think he is. The only time I've really seen him, I guess, properly annoyed after a game this year was Bodo Glimt. Yeah, and I think in his book, he's got such a keen sort of awareness of what European football means to Celtic and what part it plays in the history of the club, that he was a wee bit put out by the fact that, and let's face it, was the third-tier competition against admittedly a very good side. Celtic didn't make a better fist of it, and I think that's something that's kind of gnawing away at him, and he will want to make a much better impact in Europe this time around.
Graeme, the season ticket reminder came in last week and they showed that clip, and he was reminding the guys they were in a League Cup final against Hibs, but he told them, you're playing for a club that have achieved the highest possible target, i.e. winning the European Cup. So it's in his mind to go far in the Champions League, and probably in his mind to win it, because he was telling those guys to, once they come in and Callum McGregor was holding that trophy, they'll have contributed to the history of the club on their own merit. So I know that's his aims. He's just, whether it's achievable or not, it's, anyone's guess. Yeah. And there's somebody coming saying Celtic have to win the league first. Exactly. It's bit by bit. But I'm not having a pop at anybody aiming high. I'm just saying that I just think it's, at this minute in time, to talk about Celtic winning the Champions League, Celtic win the league first, get into the if it's a qualifier, all the group stages, and then take it from there. But they have a manager who's certainly ambitious and wants to succeed and do well with the club. And again, people are drawing the comparisons with Stein, when Stein came in 65 and everything that happened after that. So who knows where Celtic will be in 2 years' time or a year's time if Ange stays at the helm. Yeah. Glenn Maylard, got to dream to do it one game at a time. Yeah, I think Celtic fans are all getting a bit giddy and dreaming, so why not? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just having a dose of realism and concentrating on what is possible at the minute. And what is possible is that Celtic are 6 games away from winning the title, Graeme. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, I don't think many people would have said that was possible at the start of the season. So you have got to look at it that way. And I think behind closed doors, I mean, obviously we got a glimpse of what he says behind closed doors in that clip that you talk about. He will be telling the boys that anything's possible. It was interesting because I did an interview with Callum McGregor the day after that came out, and asked him about it, and he said, "Do you know what?" He said he's a great talker, and when you go out that dressing room, you feel 10 feet tall.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of that. He'll be telling those guys behind closed doors that nothing's impossible. They can do, as long as they stick to playing their football and the principles that he always kind of goes on about, they can achieve anything. But at this stage in their development, I think, let's concentrate on them getting the league first and get into the Champions League, and then we'll kind of look at it at that stage.
I think that and that's the point they're making. That's, I think you take it bit by bit, don't you? They've manoeuvred themselves into a brilliant position to win the title, as you said at the start of the broadcast. Nobody could have foreseen that, So it's he has worked. I mean, he's worked a miracle, really, hasn't he, Graeme? To be honest, Ange Postecoglou, in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think as well he was fighting perceptions when he came in as well. Like there was this sort of, if you want to call it ignorance, I guess, of his record and the level of kind of football that he'd been operating at. And it sometimes makes me laugh that, because we're always the first to kind of lambast English people down south when a Scot goes down south, and they're always saying this guy will be rubbish because he's only been in the Farmers League, and we're just as guilty, when guys like Ange come over, we say, oh, he's only been in the Australian League, the J League, I mean, it's the Scottish Premiership at the end of the day. It's it's a good level, but it's not the top level. And I think Ange was very aware of his own abilities and what he could achieve here, if given the right backing. I don't think anyone, even guys from Australia who I spoke to, who to a man, are absolute disciples of Ange Postecoglou, I don't think they even expected him to do it quite as fast. A lot of the talk was about, his first season, generally speaking, doesn't go quite according to plan. It always takes a wee bit of time for players to get used to, his demands that he places on them. But the players have just bought into it straight away, and he's managed to kind of turn things around in a speed that no one predicted. So, I mean, you're sort of getting to the stage where you're thinking, maybe not miracles, but it's a fantastic achievement that he's managed to pull off to get even to this position. And, you just wouldn't bet against him finishing it off.
Vincent O'Brien says he will be as good as Jock Stein with Celtic. Time will tell on that. And Glenn Maylard comes back in. I'm an Ange cultist, but I'm even giving him 3 years to be relevant. But life's pretty sad if you don't dream bigger than merely being relevant. That's fair enough. And Paul Byrne says, folk were carried away thinking about winning the Conference League to start mentioning the Champions League. Well, there you go. It's the heady and dizzy heights of every football fan who does dream big. Graeme, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Jim Stevenson comes in and says, let's be realistic. That defence won't get far in the Champions League. It must be strengthened because they were the worst in Europe last season. Well, that's a statistical fact he's bringing in there, Graeme. But yeah, let's. We're all dreamers, aren't we? Football's for the dreamers, Graeme. You know, and
absolutely, yeah.
Already have one gold star, and they have a manager intent on bringing them another gold star. Everything he's touched has turned to gold so far. Graeme, would you put it past him?
I don't want to say no in case it actually happens, but I still think. I mean, I'm with. I think it was Paul that said there. I think it's at this moment in time. I think it's a stretch to go Champions League. The way that everything's set up now in Europe, I think it would take a Herculean effort to even get to the latter stages. You look at the game last night. I know Chelsea weren't great, but Madrid have got a kind of decent guy up front called Benzema, who, as well as Carter Vickers and Starfelt have done recently, I think he would give them a game, So,
indeed. Hell and Feeks comes in. Just win the league boys first cup and treble would be brilliant. Andrew comes in and says, glass half full. always glass half full. But there you go. And Lanky 6. I love our club, but why do we all refer a player to an ex or a manager to an ex-manager? Let them make their own history. I think that's what Ange is concentrating on as well. Graeme, really enjoyed that, mate. Thank you for your contribution.
No worries at all, mate. Thanks for having me.
I'll take my half-full glass and dream big here. We'll see where it goes. And as you can see at the bottom, guys, just direct you to that again. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way, you'll get £1 for the first 2 months for some top-quality journalism covering the club you love. All you have to do is log on to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Even there you go, /subscribe. Guys, I've enjoyed it. Have a lovely Thursday, troops. I'll see you tomorrow on the briefing, and we'll see you, Graeme, the next time he appears. Thanks, Graeme.
Thanks, mate.